Hey there, and welcome to There Is No Future podcast, real conversations inspired by the pages of Float Sideways' book. Each episode, we pick one page and talk about it with a guest, how the idea hits home, how it shows up in their life, challenges their thinking, or helps them stay afloat when things get messy. It's not about having the answers, it's about staying in the current, finding your flow, and learning from the ride. Let's get into it.
Talking about the concept of death has come a long way, but we have a ways to go. Good thing, though, on this episode of There Is No Future, we have a really cool human to talk to. Ken Smith, who is a palliative care and hospice nurse of 21 years. Ken and I happened upon each other through our parents being friends, but we became friends since we started talking and sharing our nursing stories. Ken is going to share some of his today. He recently wrote an amazing book called We Walk Through the Valley, and you are definitely going to want to get a copy. Look for it and order it online. I'm serious. You need to get one. This book is full of the very raw and real situations he experienced with the patients he served and was written with such honesty and compassion. I can't say enough. You just need to get one. So, Ken, let's get this started with how floating sideways is so important with the invaluable work you've done in hospice. But now, even more importantly, like you said, since you've retired, continuing to use it while spending time with your family and friends.
To start there, the hospice career, consumed a lot of my available resources, my personal resources, my
Mental.
thoughts, my
Mhm.
my thoughts, my emotions, my spirituality, my physicality. It
Mhm.
consumed much of what I had to offer, including time to my family. They were and are very gracious. Um, to me, to the career. They felt it was as important as I did and were gracious enough to allow me to do all the things I needed to do. Work hard, be tired, be emotional, be talkative to the extent that I could with the HIPAA regulations,
Yeah.
and just realize that I didn't always have a lot to offer them, depending on how the day or week or certain case had gone. And now that that is past, now that we've done all of that, I think they're anticipating and hoping for and pushing for a little more of my attention and a little more of my, even though they're adult children, but they all have children. And so I have a dozen grandkids that are from 18 to 2 years old. And they're scattered around, but I don't get to attend every single ball game or anything like that.
Mhm.
But we do what we can do, and when I am with them, I really try to give to them what what I was giving to the career, and not to them in during the time of my career. I guess that's how I can say that. In
How do
other
you remind
words,
yourself? Sorry to interrupt it.
um, yeah, I guess how I do that is just to really be intentional about it. I think that's, I mean, not to go too far into the woods here, but that's one of the realities of my entire life, looking back over the course of it and raising my children and being a human. I feel like I was reactive a lot more than I
Been
am
intentional.
comfortable with. Yeah,
Hmm.
I wish I could have or would have been far more intentional with all the aspects, really.
Hmm.
And so
You're
I,
not
as
alone
I
there.
think, well, I assume I'm not, and from the looks of things and talking with people, I believe I'm not.
Hmm.
Um, I guess we learn as we go, and nobody really gets to back up and do it over again. We don't get to float backward, Karen. We only get
Right.
to float with the current, or hopefully,
Hmm.
that floating sideways, or that being present in the moment. And
Yeah.
that is one thing that really does help me, is by associating with you and your a great example of the starting of that movement that you have to that's planted a seed in my mind to be more intentional about the time that I have to spend with my family and friends. and life in general.
It
All
helps, doesn't it?
colors. It does help.
Yeah.
It really is important.
Yeah, it helps you. To me, it helps get rid of the guilt or the shame, like you were talking about, of not being as present and being more reactive rather than intentional. You think, well, I
Yeah,
can't do anything about it. That was before, but I can do something right now,
we can start from this place
Yeah.
and do what we can do each day, I guess,
Mhm.
and each moment in
That
that time.
that leads us into one of the, so I went through your book, as you know, and I
Yes,
picked
thank you.
out, loved it again. But I picked out like 4 different stories, I guess we could call it, just to really share with anybody who's listening, in relation to, I really went, oh, that's, this part of the book that I wrote. And so there's so many ways that it all just coordinated, And so
Yeah, it
those are
ties
the
in.
things that I wanted to talk about. And the first one has to do with the entry of "Don't just do something, stand there" with Dale and
Yeah,
Marge. It's on
Dale and
page
Marge,
55.
I went and marked those pages
Mm-hmm.
today, so um, I don't know if you want
Brilliant.
me to really read it, but
If
um,
you remember it, you can just recall it too,
yeah,
whatever. Okay.
I'll tell the story. And this was a couple. He had a logging business, and I mean the whole full on business, all the machines, trucks, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Busy
Very
man.
involved in that. Busy man. That's a morning, can't to can't kind of business. Can't see to can't see, and was really and good at it and successful at it. And then pancreatic cancer came to his dear wife. So he fully then intentionally committed, sold all the equipment,
Mm.
everything down to one chainsaw and one raggedy old tractor,
Wow.
and so I'm gonna take care of her, Marge, and so his what he knew to do was to cook and clean
Mm-hmm.
and do the things that she had done so well for him over all the years, for them, I guess, but to let her not feel the burden of having to accomplish those tasks was his way of caring for her. So on my first meeting with them, I don't believe I did the admission for her, but so I went following the admission and met them for the first time. And as I walked in the house, here's this rough old lumberjack, and he's vacuuming, and he's got a wild rice hot dish in the oven, and
Wow.
he's got. I'm from the Midwest, so casserole.
Yeah,
If you don't know what
casseroles
hot dish
everywhere.
is, and wild rice is a staple here. So he's got the wild rice hot dish in the oven. He's vacuuming. He's got the game show on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
then I sit with her, and he keeps on doing. Oh, the washer was running also, washing machine and dryer. So I sit with her, and the mandatory sort of vital sign assessment,
Mm-hmm.
lung sounds, all the things that you do, and I just had a feeling sort of, and I said, how are you really?
Mm-hmm.
And again, pancreatic cancer. So there are certain symptoms that attend pancreatic patients fairly routinely, nausea, pain being the primary ones. And she's like, I'm okay. Pain, what's your pain number, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was present. And I said, it feels kind of busy here. Are you resting? And, whatever. And yeah, no, it's okay. And so then we had some talk about, we need to have some quiet time. It's okay to nap during the day now and that sort of thing. And he
And this
comes
is
home,
with Dale
yeah,
and
yeah,
Dale as well, or
yeah,
just with her?
yeah. Well, I did have a minute to sit with him, and
Okay.
because that's a big part of what, in my hospice practice, we went house to house. We went to people's homes, and we didn't stay. We didn't attend the person. Our main function was to teach the primary caregiver. And so, yeah, I gathered him up for a bit, got him slowed down, sat down, and we had that communication. And
Oh.
and and it's okay for her to sleep, and it's and we need to
Okay
pay
for you to
attention to
slow
the
down.
pain. It's okay for quiet time. You can even go outside. You don't have to sit,
Hint, hint.
in the house,
Yeah.
look staring at her or working and looking. And okay, yeah, we'll do that. So, I felt like we made a little ground, and when we developed a trust, I have the ability to talk to working guys. I've been a working guy in my life too, and so we developed a bit of trust. And so then as I went back on my subsequent visit, 2 or 3 days later, I don't recall exactly which, I walk in the house and he's vacuuming again, which I don't know how many people vacuum multiple times a week, but he was. And this time there was a roast with all the potatoes, carrots, the whole 9 yards in the oven. Could smell it from outside. The washing machine's running again. I mean, it's only two people, but we got the washing machine running. I think he was scrubbing the bathroom floor,
Wow.
if not vacuuming. Anyway, he's just going. And she was in the bedroom, and rather than sitting out in the middle of all of that, she was in the bedroom with the door shut, somewhat more quiet. And I went in and I said, did my preliminary stuff, and how are you today there, Marge? And she just flooded with
Mm.
tears. And she said, can you please tell him to stop it? I can't even stand the smell of the cooking. It's the same as when I was pregnant. Just the smell of the food is making me ill, and I hurt, and I can't put anything in. And even when I drink water, which is typical of pancreatic cancer, and so we brought in Dale. I said, okay, slow down, buddy. Come on in here. And we, I know this is true of other places throughout the country and different cultures. But it's particularly and sometimes painfully true in the Midwest. We heal by food, or attempt to heal by food. And if you're sick, well, you gotta eat. You gotta get your strength up.
I know.
And it's just not a real thing in pancreatic cancer. So we had that talk in which I did develop it more later on, but at that time I said things like, "It's okay, if she doesn't want to eat, there's probably 4 pounds of wild rice hot dish still in the fridge. You can just bring some out."
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to cook a huge meal every day, and there will be days. Well, she has to keep her strength up. Well, no, she doesn't. This is not where we're at now. And I said to her, Marge, you may eat anything you want. I don't care. It doesn't matter what time of day. Your food doesn't have to align with whatever meal we
Anything.
happen
Yeah.
to be out.
Yeah.
And
Whatever,
and he
whenever.
and then he's saying, see. And I said, okay, but that also means nothing at all is okay.
Mm.
If she doesn't feel like eating, if she doesn't need to eat, her body is taking the nutrients from the food and sending it to the cancer anyway. He just looked at me as though I said the moon were purple or something. I mean, it was such a foreign concept, but we worked through that, and
Yeah.
by teaching, and a lot of times I didn't use the medical words. I used
Yeah.
more kind of plain talk and normal. We're in these people's homes and they want to know what's real, and this is what's real. Marge is going to die now,
But
and
his
it won't
comfort
be a
level
long
was
time.
to do something. I
And
just want
and
to
a
keep
lot,
doing something and
I
doing
I
something. And
have
she's
to
like,
do.
no, just stand here.
Just
Be
just
with
be
me.
here. We haven't. You've worked morning until night for 40 years. I've done, the whatever and the kid stuff and the go to school because you're working. I need you. I don't need food. I don't need
Yeah.
clean clothes. I could care less what the bathroom floor looks like.
Yeah.
Please just sit here with me. Hold my hand or not, and just be here. And he did eventually wind down to that. The disease was fast moving in her. They didn't have a lot of time, but he did come to that as much as he could. And I saw a real benefit from that. And in their case, and another case, and I guess, tying that back with floating sideways, to not keep focused on, oh, I should be running my business, which he didn't have anymore. He had conquered that. but he was just looking forward to that need to produce
Right.
and do and rather than just unplug and just sit still with her. And that was so beneficial when he did that. Yeah, just be there.
Yeah.
Just be there.
And you also had to quit doing stuff and look at both of them and just be there to
Yes.
see that, so
I
you
had
could
to,
guide them.
yeah, and that was sort of the thing that I came to, and I talk about that in the book as well. In my life, was a fixer. I had
Yeah.
grown up in the mechanic world. I had worked in landscaping. I am by nature a fixer. And so when it came to my time in hospice as a nurse, in the first few years, some of the challenges were that I could not fix that.
Mhm.
I couldn't, I had worked as a floor nurse in a med surg unit and taken care of every kind of thing you can imagine, small
Mhm.
community, everywhere from not really labor and delivery. We had specialists for that, but every other kind of surgical and medical need, gunshots, new
Yeah.
diagnoses, post-surgical, on and on. And it was all about fixing or
Fixing,
relearning
yeah.
what to do or yep. And so when I got to hospice, and that was my wife kind of challenging me, saying, "What's up, buddy? You're not happy
Yeah.
as you used to be." And me thinking that through and saying, "Why am I not?" And because I'm not able to
To
fix
fix.
what's
Yeah.
wrong with these people. So how can I fill my
Physically.
need to fix that,
Yeah.
to fix them, or what can I do? And so
Yeah.
that's when I developed kind of my little mantra, whatever, of I can assure that they're safe. I
Mm.
can assure that their pain is managed at a level
Mhm.
that they are pleased with, and I can comfort safety, and I can provide for them dignity
Mhm.
and keep them in their home or whatever their home happened to be
Yeah.
as their life winds down as a result of these diseases, conditions, lifestyle
Mhm.
choices, whatever that were beyond my control. So then
That's a
that's
big
how I
mental
was
switch.
a big mental switch
Yeah.
and a big
Yeah.
emotional switch. That then did require that I be entirely present
Yep.
with my thinking process, with my emotional process with them. And
Yeah.
I, in the kind of comfort or safety of our team meetings earlier on, I would say if people would just do what I say, everything would be fine.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and I had to turn that
Ken,
around to
hello,
say,
Ken.
if I could just react positively or be intentional
Mhm.
about what it is that they actually need, what can I
Yeah.
ask them or observe or assess that is
Mhm.
what they really need
Yeah.
at that moment, and be willing to flex that, be willing to react, within the moment
Mhm.
of how what we had been doing or what we might think about doing, but what do you need right now today?
Okay,
So,
so that again, you're doing some great lead-ins here.
oh, good.
To the next one that I found, and it has to do with the entry that I have in my book called, it's not called anything, but newscaster says, how important is human touch to you? The care facility resident says extremely. If you don't have that connection, you feel you aren't approachable or lovable after a while. We need that touch. The touch
You
that
need that
says,
touch.
I see you, which is what you just did. You're able to take your brain out of your to-do list and you're able
Yeah.
to say, who are you right now? What do you need right now? I see you. And that's the trust that you build with the people.
Yes.
And you help them build that trust with each other by the education part. And so on page 89 is a beautiful, this I would love for you to read. Since you wrote it, I want you to read it. But it's so well written. And right on page 88 where it says all of us know at
Yeah.
some level.
I read this at some friends here had a book signing party a
Okay.
couple weeks ago, and they asked me to read something, and I read this, and
Oh, good. Okay, go for it
I,
then.
I was feeling quite emotional. I don't know if
Okay,
I
well, you
will
can
or
get
now or not,
emotional
but
here. You
okay,
can
well,
cry here.
hopefully
That's
I'll
what it's all
control them.
about.
So all of us know at some level that at a certain point our life will end. But we think that our time will end We think that our end time will come at a certain point far in the future. When we're faced with the reality that now is the time, we need to do some pretty major work. And this is where the work happens in the home, in the family, in the quiet moments where there may be no one present but this couple who have faced every challenge of life together, when they hold each other and cry. These people are committed to each other. They rely on each other. They cannot conceive of what life will be like without the other present. They may have faith or belief in what lies ahead for the one departing, a hope of it's going to be a better place, a hope that there will be a place where they meet with others whom they love, where there is no pain, where there is goodness and relief and freedom from anything unpleasant. They're committed to caring for the one who is leaving in every possible way. They're willing to learn about the things that they've been afraid of: medicines, treatments, dressing changes, managing bowel and bladder elimination. They're determined to provide this last service for the person they love above themselves. And even through the fear of another change for themselves, they find a way to do what is needed. They prepare as much as possible for their life ahead, and they give all they can to their life partner. On one level, it is so sad. On another level, these moments have been some of the most beautiful times of caring and true love that I have ever seen. The caregiver has learned and how to manage medicines, techniques, and common sense to provide for comfort. They've set aside pride and personal feelings to allow strangers, as well as friends, into their home, their life, to assure that special love has the safety that they all need. They have given up personal comfort, time, and energy to provide for the dignity that can help their special one feel loved and cared for as they complete life's journey within the walls of their own home and in the presence of their family, with familiar sounds, smells, feelings, and above all, the experience of human love, of unlimited love. So there
That
you
is
have it.
just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I probably didn't write about that, but even as I read it now, I'm thinking of the couples, whatever
Mhm,
form that takes, but I'm also thinking of, parents to children. I took care of
mhm,
about a dozen children over the 21
mm,
years I was in hospice, under 18 years of age, and vice versa. I had many instances where children took care of their parents in their age and in their end of time life. And so that all goes together too, those human connections, that intimacy
mhm.
of real, true, pure love.
Yeah.
And what a blessing it was to me to
Mhm.
be able to see that and experience that, and to be privileged to be let into that in families a
Yeah, it
tiny bit.
really is. And just to me, to see how the family can just sit and be, because those moments, like you're talking about, are really hard to have unless you're sitting and being with that person who is dying, with the family
Yeah,
members, you know, and encouraging the family to just sit and be. And when you got somebody who's heading into the unknown, because it truly is, who knows,
really is.
just to be able to hold their hand and look right at them when they're looking at you and not be afraid to look away. That to
Yeah,
me says, I see you,
I see you. You're
if
real.
you cry, who cares? If whatever, you hold it, their hands, and don't be afraid to look, right at them.
Those are the most real things ever.
Hmm.
That connection, that moment, crossing over, there's nothing more real than that.
Hmm.
And being there, being in that moment,
Yeah.
your moment, not
Yep.
worrying about all the other stuff,
Yep.
past or future, just
Yeah.
right now.
I did my big 1 year in hospice and palliative care, but for one, I got into a lot of trouble, like I told you before. But for two, here's some of the reasons. Was this daughter was taking care of her mom, and I said, she might very well pass tonight.
Yeah.
And she said she was all alone. And she said, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I said, absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
I said, just sit and be with her as long as you want. There was no urgency at all.
at all.
And I said, and then when you feel like you want to let us know, call. And she said, okay. And that's exactly what she did. And it was so cool. And she was so happy that she did. Once you end up making the phone call, then you end up
Things
in the
happen.
to-do mode. Yeah.
Yep.
So I've always said, just sit and be with them. And you're still, my view is once somebody passes, there's still time that it takes for that energy or the soul or whatever to really
Yeah.
exit the physical body. And so why would you want any chaos in there? You know, continue to be with them and help them. So, and see them.
So many experiences about that. I mean, in all of the variety of homes that I was in, I mean, one that always comes to mind was a little old lady that's the perfect grandma of all, with her three daughters in her perfectly tidy little home,
Yeah.
lying perfectly tidily in her little tiny bed,
Yep.
completely fresh, crispy sheets,
Mhm.
church music on the whatever machine was playing music,
Uh-huh.
and the daughters just kind of quietly bustling around there. But I sensed that she was leaving in that moment. She was
Mhm.
passing, crossing over, dying at that time.
Mhm.
And so I just kind of made little motions. I didn't make a big deal of it. I just
Mhm.
said, "Girls, you know, might want to
Mhm.
pay attention." And they said, "Oh my goodness!" And her breathing has changed. And I tried to not say much.
Mhm.
I just tried to nod or just let them experience
Be.
whatever they were
Mhm.
on their own. And then her breathing stopped, and they were able to just do that. They all had a
Mhm.
hand on her. They all were present with her. And I just stepped,
Mhm.
I was at the foot of the bed. I stepped back and just tried really hard to let them have that moment.
Mhm.
I couldn't leave the house. I mean, but I gave them all the time they need.
Mhm.
And then other times, and I'm recalling a certain family that I took care, actually I took care of five different members of this family,
Oh, wow.
and real low socioeconomic group, but a loving family, and multi-generational in each home.
Mhm.
And so when I went to visit, you know, the patient was in the living room in the midst of kids coming home from school, food being made, stuff happening, people getting ready for work, TV on, even
Busy. Probably the way they
inappropriately
live their
loud.
life. Yeah.
It was exactly the way they lived their life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the same thing. I mean, this person is actively dying, right? Like
Mhm.
right now. And
Mhm.
they're like, oh, wow, everybody
Yeah.
shut up.
Yeah.
And, and it was way less, you know, prim and whatever, but
Mhm.
it was their life. That's the point.
Yeah. Exactly.
It was their life, and that's how it was meaningful to them. They gathered everybody around still.
Yeah. Yep.
And those who wanted, there were those who chose to stay back for personal discomfort
Mhm.
reasons, sadly, but
Yeah. Their own comfort levels.
their own comfort level.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. And space was made for them.
Mhm.
And there was no judgment from the family and nor me or whatever.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, that's the spectrum and everything, every possible, every home really,
Mhm.
you know, you can't say there's 10 ways to die or whatever. Each
Yeah.
what I would try to teach people, and then that was the second most asked question. The first most asked question I ever had, and it literally was, if not every person, at least every family, how long
Uh-huh.
is this going to be?
Exactly.
And the second question, how is this going to go?
Oh, okay.
And I, you know, Shirley and I have four kids. Each birth was different and unique,
I know, right?
and
Same. Yep.
same, and it's the same. That other back end of life or the final end of life goes the same way. There are
Mhm.
things that which are similar, but each one is unique to our individual persons, to
Absolutely.
ourselves. Yeah,
And with all of the family around too, the only, the differences between birth and death on that one is, once a baby's born, you have their whole life to tell them how you feel about them,
yeah,
versus when they're dying, that is the other one that I thought was wonderful, on page 65 for you, which relates to, again, to an entry in the book here. Have you been waiting a long time to tell someone something really important? Why not
right.
say it now? Call them or just
Well,
walk over to them, blurt it out,
yeah,
just say it, have no expectations of a response. Just say it before one of you dies.
that,
And then I have PS, texting doesn't count.
that was like fourth or fifth most asked question.
Mm-hmm,
Should we call the family? Should we call the
mm-hmm,
kids home? Should we tell them? And because I could never answer the how long question,
mm-hmm.
I also could never answer that question appropriately. I mean, in the way that it was asked, should we call the kids home? Because we're so socially programmed into some questions, right?
Yeah.
Like when a person gets a cancer diagnosis, I mean, we're automatically, we can't not ask the question, how long did
How
they give
long?
you?
I know.
Right.
Yeah.
From there that builds it. And so as a human and a retired nurse, having dealt with that, I try really hard to not ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people go, well, don't you want to know how long they gave me? And you know,
Kind of, but
that's
not
not what I
really.
want to ask you.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's what you want, or that's what you believe I should ask or something, but there are other things that are more important than that. Are you comfortable? How are you? How does
Mhm.
this impact you emotionally?
Yeah.
And then not to go too far away from where you started there, but so in answer to that question, it depends on, I mean, should I call the kids home? Well, that depends on what is the purpose of calling them home.
Mm-hmm.
Or should I have the minister come over? All of those sorts of
Mm-hmm.
questions are all in the same thing. And just like the person who asked you, well, what do I do when they die? I mean, it all depends on your goal.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on your goal. If the reason for coming home is to make amends, review life history, sign some papers, whatever, then
Yeah.
by all means, get
Right.
it done, because the nature of an end stage illness is that it can change very quickly. The person's awareness, the
Mm-hmm.
person's cognition, the person's ability to even hold a pen and sign paper, or even recognize a face. We
Mm-hmm.
always, and maybe you know this too, but we always assumed and believed that a person could still hear, even if they couldn't respond, even if they
Mm-hmm.
were, in a what we used to call comatose state.
Yeah.
If they're unresponsive, we always operated under the assumption that they could hear, and that whatever words need to be said should
Should still
be
be
said.
said. Yeah.
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 And if that was the only opportunity for certain, you should say what you need to say,
Mm-hmm.
hoping that would be heard. Just to find, and I really don't like the word closure. I really don't.
Yeah. I,
And I
I
know
agree with you.
I
Like
feel like
closure for
that's
who?
another thing that we're programmed in.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
and so
It really isn't
you
such a
would
word.
you wouldn't go through certain motions and then say, okay, that's closed. Now
Yeah.
now, so that means the play implies, I don't know. Anyway, we won't get into all that. That could be a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But
I suppose.
I mean, the losses, and again, did we lose people? That implies that it's our fault, that
Mm.
as we've lost our
Lost
car
people.
keys, lost our
Oh yeah.
billfold. I've done something and lost my
Mm-hmm.
father, whatever. My parents are both deceased. They both passed over, crossed over, gone
Yeah.
on. My brother, my wife's two brothers, her stepdad, her real dad, her stepmom. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we've had death in our
Yeah.
family, and I feel like I do miss them, and I will miss them, but I can
Mm-hmm.
live on with them being gone, and
Especially
I
if there
don't
was nothing
close
else to
that.
say. Yeah. No closure was needed.
No, and
Yeah.
I mean, you can always think back, oh shoot, what about that time when I was 14 and I did whatever, and did I ever
Mm-hmm.
really tell them I'm sorry? I mean, our heads mess with ourselves,
I
and
think. I think. Go ahead.
oh, it's just, and I guess if we need to move on,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe, and there are ways I've heard of. I feel really bad even bringing this up because I cannot remember the person's name. I don't have paperwork on it. I went to a continuing ed, and there was a rabbi from a big synagogue in New York who spoke to us about what he called a living will or end of life will, in which the person, the patient, the person dying, wrote about their experience, but wrote to their, or spoke it if they weren't able to write, and
Hmm.
somebody would record, sort of those things that you wish you had said. And I did try to pass that on to people, and here these, our stoic Midwesterners are like, yeah, well, we dealt with all that, and
Yeah,
we don't need to talk about that anymore.
right.
And,
Yeah,
and
we're done.
but yeah, we're done. It's good. And if it is, wonderful.
Mhm.
And if it isn't, though, then I've heard of other ways of writing a letter,
Mhm.
placing it at wherever the person's remains are. I've heard
Mhm.
of writing a letter and burning it.
Mhm.
I've heard of just going and talking at the gravesite.
Mhm.
Anything that feels right to you, and just letting it out of you,
Mhm.
freeing that from your soul or whatever, and
Mhm.
that you need to unburden yourself, and then maybe we'll circle back when I say this. We'll unburden that, unpackage that, so that we can be more in the present moment
Mhm.
with our current people. Um, I guess I'll bring up something else personal if you don't mind about that. I We had family traditions, as most families do, and one our tradition with my father was at Christmas Eve at their house with a stepsister and her family, my stepsister and her family, my brother and his family, and myself and our family. And the first Christmas that Eve that he wasn't present, we gathered anyway, and we had the same foods, we had the same traditions we were going through. And somehow in the small house that we were in, I wound up sitting in the chair that he normally sat in.
Oh,
And I was really overcome.
oh,
And I
wow.
hadn't expected that because it had
Mhm.
been 8, 9, 10 months, and I was working in hospice, and I really was emotionally overcome with, shoot, he's not here, and I'm sitting in his chair, and that
Mhm.
means, what does that
Mhm.
mean? And I was kind of, even my affect was
Mm.
changing, and my wife looked at me and she said, "You need to get out of that chair right now."
Interesting how that
And
connected there.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so, I mean, in staying there, I wasn't in the moment with my family. I was in my head. I was
Mhm.
thinking about
Mm.
things, and dealing with emotions, which isn't wrong to deal with emotions, and but for me to not continue to spiral down in
Yeah.
that, I needed to move myself out of there, and
Mhm.
assume a more intentional, purposeful role of being a dad and a grandpa and a cousin and an uncle and a brother, and all the things that I needed to be, other than a kid missing my dad. Which,
That expression too, it's okay to float backwards. So to have all those moments in that chair, but if you can use that then to continue to turn yourself around, and be more present,
so
then
having
that's a
been on the
reason to do it.
water, exactly, having been
Yeah.
on the water, canoeing or whatever, and caught in little whirlpools, take a little extra effort to give that push to stop spinning around in that, and
Exactly. Yep.
move back into the correct float. Hey,
Yeah.
we'll
You just
both tie
needed
that
someone to
in.
go, get out of the chair.
Yeah. Hey, think about what you're doing here. Oh yeah, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's important. And whatever, whether it's our own self, making that like, oh, you need to do that, or
Mhm.
somebody's gentle reminder, or not so gentle reminder, even to pull ourselves out of that moment.
Yeah.
That's not really okay to be in,
Mhm.
where we're
And
we're
that's where
not
the
we're
good
not.
communication comes in.
Yeah,
You feel trust with other
yeah.
people to go, oh, hey, Ken,
Mhm.
you're in a suck hole
Hey,
here. I gotta yank you out of it for a minute.
I'm gonna pull you right out of there.
Yeah, let me grab your
Yeah.
tube.
So yeah, but and then I guess I don't really remember the details of the rest of the evening,
Mhm.
which is how it should be, other than we
Mhm.
we went about our routine and our
Yeah,
tradition, and moved on,
and moved on. Yep.
and
Pulled out of your eddy,
yeah.
I guess.
And you know what else that allowed? I guess I'm just talking while I'm thinking here. So, but it allowed his widow, my stepmother, to move into that spot
Hmm.
and kind of cuddle up with his blanket, and be
Hmm.
there in a different way, which was okay for her, missing him,
Yeah.
but still enjoying our company.
Hmm.
And I think over the evening, now that I recall that, several people kind of, I don't know if it was
Moved in.
intentional or not, but they wound up kind of being in that spot and
Hmm.
having their own experience about
Feeling him
what
there
was
still
important to them.
probably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, maybe, yeah,
probably helped.
yeah. So anyway, there's that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, the
Good
other
moments.
one, the last one
The
that
other one.
I
Yeah.
thought has to do with George on page 93. And
Oh,
I
George, I
love
tell you.
George. And to me, George is the epitome of if your body is physically spent and your spirit is ready to move on, it's okay to talk about being done floating down the river of life. And George seemed
He
like he was right on that path.
he was all about that path. And that's one of the things. There was a couple of things when I entered into and was early into the hospice world. A couple of things I was concerned about was people ending their life by suicide,
Mhm.
which I never did have. I had one
Mm.
person out of 5,000, whatever,
Mhm.
that did actually make an attempt that we had to respond to in a different way than we were
Mm.
used to.
Mhm.
And I had George and a couple of others that I won't say they were actively committing suicide, but they weren't actively seeking a slowdown of the disease or remission
Mhm.
of the disease. He just had a unique personality. He saw his mother die actually shortly before he was diagnosed with end-stage kidney disease, and they both had that,
Mhm.
and end-stage renal disease. And he was a single person at that stage, divorced, and had been such a personality that his family, his children, would not react with him. They were
Mhm.
estranged, and he just said, "I got nothing." And he could not take care of himself at home.
Mhm.
In short time, he was developing sores and weakness and all the things that go with all of that. And he just actually was pouring candy into his mouth. Jelly bean. It was coming on Easter, and he had people bringing him jelly beans, and he would
Uh-huh.
just eat
Just go for
a
it.
bag of jelly beans during my visit,
Mhm.
and choose not to have his medicine and make choices that were
Mhm.
difficult for the staff. He wound up in a nursing home,
Mhm.
and they bless their heart. They tried to care for him, and get out of here. He was having a rough time.
Mhm.
Only in his mid 60s, but he just would not accept the help, and that's what an issue where as we had meetings about that, and especially as some of the younger, the CNA type staff and people that were just
Weren't used to it.
trying so hard to do their best job and make this guy have a safe and dignified and pain-free end of life, and he just wasn't having it.
Mhm.
And
Because that's what
that we
they
would
thought
talk.
he needed, right?
Well, that was our agenda.
Yeah.
Theirs, mine, the hospice team,
Yeah.
the nursing staff at the
Yeah.
facility. I mean,
Not
all of
his.
us had that goal to make comfort,
Yeah.
safety, and dignity, and he's like, nope. And
Yeah.
he didn't do a traumatic suicide, but he sort of a protracted
Mhm.
suicide, I guess, if you really want to kind of think of it in that way. And he actually was pleased with himself when his body began to break down further. He he's
Mhm.
like, we're right on, it's working.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it was not pretty.
Mhm.
He had sores, he had gangrene, he had pain
Yeah.
that he refused to medicate. And even one of the lead nurses there, who she had been a nurse for a good bit of time, had not experienced that sort of situation, nor actually been in the room during a death. And so the morning that I went, and he was unresponsive, and his breathing had changed, and all the sort of the symptoms that we recognize as nearing the end of life. And I pointed these out to her, and he had not only modeling but actually lividity, just big areas of bruising, looking, pooling. And I said, I believe he's really close here. And since we did, some things that we could to kind of tend to him, we, just with a damp cloth, trying to
Mhm.
make his face pleasant, and he wasn't able to
Wasn't
actively resist
responsive.
any
Yeah.
of that. Yeah, there's some moisture to his lips,
Mhm.
tongue swab to his mouth. and just some real basic things that we were able to do. And his breathing kept changing rather rapidly. And I purposely stayed there, and I did identify that for her. I said, I think he's going to be gone here in just minutes. And it wasn't 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it came to that final end. And she's like, holy cow, it was a real experience for her to experience the death. But then as we kind of, we needed to debrief about that because our goals weren't met. And I was late
Right.
enough in my career at that point where I said, you know what, but his goals
Exactly.
were met.
Yeah.
And we did what we could do. We did what he would allow us to do. And that was
That's
interesting.
cool. You recognize that. Yeah.
Well, it'll still ride with me. I mean, I know there was more we could have done to make his ending better, but
Yeah.
he wasn't upset. And
Yeah.
he did, just if anybody's hearing the story, a daughter did come back and just say, I know you don't even want me here, but I'm here, and you need to know that no matter what, I do love you.
Oh
And
gosh.
you can't make me not love you. You can make me leave the room. You can make me not be present in your life, but I need to say that you're my dad and I love you.
Wow.
And that was a big thing. Yeah, I didn't put that in the book, but I just remember that now. And that kind of ties in with the other part of what we need to say, what we need to say too,
Yeah.
to help them. Yeah.
Well, that's
So,
probably a good
yeah.
way to end our podcast. Oh, I got all like
I,
choked up there.
oh, there's so many things, Karen. They're
I
so
know.
precious and tender, and thank you for letting me talk about it, and
Oh
thank
yeah.
you for helping me identify, and work on me being more intentional and more present and more available for the people that I'm here with, and I want to be here with my family, my friends, my responsibilities in ways that I sort of set aside for a while. And your work has helping me do that, and I appreciate that.
Well, right back at you, because your book is just wonderful, and I can continue to hang out with you when you come down to Mesa, and
For sure.
yep, come over to Portland whenever.
We have all that technology too to help stay in touch.
We
I
do.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for spending your time and sharing
Um,
all of the wisdom that you have, because you have a ton. So really appreciate
Thank you. Thanks. Both ways.
it. Thanks for being with us today on There Is No Future podcast. If this conversation moved you, share it with someone else floating next to you. To learn more about the work behind the podcast, head to floatsideways.com. Until next time, in this crazy and unpredictable world today, keep floating sideways, and we'll see you around the bend.